At 11:48, the morning's most famous guest canceled with a 7-word message and an umbrella emoji, even though not a single drop was falling in Valencia. On the old Bakelite switchboard shoved into the corner beside Rafa, beneath the label plus 90 minutes, an amber pilot light began to blink. Violeta Navas read the screen, looked at the glowing studio clock, and felt the live hour ahead of her open like an elevator door with no elevator behind it. Luz Aguado, actress, author, interview phenomenon, and guaranteed full switchboard, was not coming. Then it rang. A round, polite, completely impossible ring. Nadia Benet, the producer, looked out from the control booth with the face of someone who had found a cat inside the quarterly budget. Rafa Olmedo, sound technician and sentimental curator of improbable gadgets, took off one headphone. "That should not be ringing," he said. "I love reassuring sentences in threat format," Violeta replied. Outside, the sky was the color of pale aluminum. Dry storm, electricity without rain. Inside, the clocks marked ad breaks, stingers, and seconds with the clean cruelty of programmed things. The theme music came in. The red live light turned on. "It is 11 o'clock in Valencia. Our star guest has had to cancel, and radio, which is the art of making something decent out of whatever arrives late, has something else for you today. What tiny decision is taking up too much mental space before lunch? We are not looking for grand destinies. We are looking for those open tabs in your head that drain the battery." Messages came in, asking to swap a shift, returning a too expensive jacket, talking to a flatmate who left notes on the fridge as if administering an archipelago. Rafa signaled. The plus 90-minute pilot light was blinking. "We have a strange call," he said in her earpiece. Define strange on a scale from neighbor with a drill to accountant with a ukulele. Physics strange.
Violeta smiled without showing the fright. "Put her through." A woman's voice came in, clear, with a barely metallic echo. "Am I on air? I'm Amparo. I think I called a while ago, but now it's already 12:30. Nadia opened her mouth. Rafa slowly shook his head, watching the screens. "Amparo," Violeta said, "it is 11:03 here. No private details. Tell us something small about this broadcast that has not happened here yet." Rafa is going to knock over a glass of water while untangling a cable, but Nadia is going to catch it in midair, and you will say that this station's coordination is underused by the national sport. Rafa looked at his glass. Nadia looked at him. Rafa, out of pure disobedience from the universe, moved his arm, caught the cable, the glass tilted, and Nadia caught it before it touched the table. "This station's coordination," Violeta said, because sometimes dignity consists of accepting a good line, "is underused by the national sport." Messages rushed in all at once. Setup, lottery. In 90 minutes, will I still be hungry or just anxious? Amparo, we are not going to ask you what will happen in the world. Let's stay with what you have chosen to tell us. What sentence helped you with the shift? I said, I can cover Tuesdays if we put Thursdays in writing. I didn't ask for a huge favor. I asked for a clear agreement. My manager, who is not a dragon either, said, "Finally someone says it straight." And one more thing. I heard you wanted to use my clip in a promo. The live call, yes, but not my full name. And not this audio afterward, please. My manager listens to the station. when she pretends to do inventory. There was the true strangeness, finer than the trick. A person from the future correcting the scope of a permission she had just given in the present. Understood, Violeta said. Consent for broadcast, not for later exploitation. Rafa, mark that raw file as not reusable. Technically, yes, Rafa said. Institutionally, someone will make an angry PowerPoint. Let them do it with nice typography. The Bakelite pilot light beneath the plus 90-minute label blinked, not like applause, but like an acknowledgement of receipt. The morning stopped being about predictions and began to be about something more delicate. Who still owned a sentence after having spoken it?
During the break, Nadia rewrote the rundown with a green marker. Tony Severa, head of digital and sales, appeared in the doorway with his phone raised. This is huge. The plus 90 hour? First we work out how not to break anyone, Violeta said. They went back on air with Clara, flatmate to 3 people and, judging by her tone, emotional notary of a communal fridge. It had all started with a mango yogurt and a note that said, "Respect is not a downloadable app." I need to know who was right, Clara said. Violeta opened her mouth to make the Supreme Court of Tupperware joke. Before it came out, the switchboard released a harsh burst like aluminum foil crumpled inside the headphones. The plus 90-minute pilot light blinked quickly, almost angrily. Clara's voice, from 90 minutes later, came in, breathless. Cut before my surname. In the automatic replay at 12:43, it is going to go out in full if you keep going 15 seconds longer. My flatmate hears it at the workshop before I speak to him. Rafa sat up straight. The replay always cuts the last 40 seconds before ads. Violeta asked. Nadia held up 5 fingers, then 4. Violeta lowered the call fader and came in over the music bed with the calm of a tightrope walker. We are taking a microscopic break so we do not turn an expired yogurt into documentary heritage. The song came in 8 seconds early. It was not elegant, but it was legally gorgeous. Rafa deactivated the automatic clip like someone removing a tick from a very expensive dog. In the control booth, Nadia wrote in large letters, "Consent windows." Beneath it, she added, "And buy normal yogurts." When they came back, Clara had authorized a summary without names. "And ban philosophical notes on the fridge," Clara added. A gain for living together. The laughter arrived by message, by gestures in the control booth, and through Violeta's own relief. The switchboard did not punish humor. It punished entering without knocking. The amber pilot light seemed always to ask the same thing. Do you have permission to look there? The next segment brought Sergio, a self-employed renovations worker tempted by a very expensive sofa with instant financing. "It's not just a sofa," he said. "I walk into my flat and everything feels temporary. The salesperson told me I deserve it." Tony whispered on the internal line, "Careful with the quick credit mention after the song." But the problem was no longer the sponsor. It was the clock. As soon as Sergio said financing, the switchboard began sending back 2 overlapping voices. Sergio now, breathing close to his phone, and Sergio from 90 minutes later, answering half a second early. I reserved the sofa for 24 hours. I checked the quarterly insurance payment for the workshop, and also it wouldn't fit through the landing. "One moment," Violeta said. "Sergio, don't answer yet." "But I haven't answered." "Exactly. And that, in radio, is a very specific form of nightmare." Rafa pointed at the glowing clock. "The future line is coming in through the guest return.
If you ask before the 11:28 stinger, it collides with his answer. If you wait until after, it lands on top of advertising. We have a 22-second window. Nadia twirled the green marker like a stationary orchestra conductor. We skip the stinger, bring traffic forward, put a clean question in the gap. There is no traffic today, Rafa said. Even better, fewer cars to move. Violeta looked at the amber pilot light. It blinked once. Permission, if you do it in time. Sergio, she said, we're going to do this with microwave precision. When you hear my now, tell us only what piece of information you would check before signing. Not whether you are a good person for wanting a sofa. Rafa, count. 3, 2, 1. Now. Future Sergio's voice came in clearly, finally alone. The quarterly insurance payment for the workshop. It was due today by direct debit. If I signed, it wouldn't sink me, but it would leave me gasping for a month. I reserved the sofa for 24 hours, measured the space again, and, attention, it didn't fit through the landing. The landing, as financial advisor, Violeta said. Underrated since forever. The line dropped just before the service block. Rafa raised both thumbs. We've discovered that the future has latency, he said. Like every serious provider, Violeta replied.
During the long break, the studio no longer sounded like cheerful improvisation, but like a small engine room. Rafa opened the switchboard's lid. Inside were old-colored wires, dust with a historical vocation, and a handwritten label. Do not bridge with continuity. I could have used reading this 20 minutes ago, he said. Tony stopped looking at his phone. Automatic continuity just detected a ghost line. If it is still active at the 12 o'clock station ID, it sends it to the central archive as program signal. Everything that comes through there gets recorded, replicated, and sent to legal. Bad legal or legal with a form? Violeta asked. Legal with a call before lunch. Nadia pressed the tablet to her chest. We have Luz. Violeta went still. Luz Aguado? On a future line. She says that from 12:30 she can explain what she was going to sign before lunch. She also said, I don't want this to become fine-cut butchery. Tony looked at the open switchboard. And if she comes in now, the line stays latched until the station ID. We will not be able to promise complete deletion. The temptation was no longer a headline. It was worse. An important call they might not be able to control. In her memory, Violeta heard Amparo's voice adjusting a permission from 90 minutes later, and Clara asking them to cut before the system made a stupid copy of someone else's life. 40 seconds remained before they went back on air. Rafa had his hand over a gray plug. I can cut the switchboard completely, he said. We lose Luz and any +90 calls. And if we keep it? Nadia asked. It may stay open until the station ID, like leaving a window open during a dry storm. Maybe only air comes in, maybe a goat with an agenda comes in. Violeta put on her headphones. We take her only if she can give us a consented operational instruction, how much to tell, when to cut, and how to close the line. If not, long song, and we all pretend we adore 7-minute jazz. I do adore it, Rafa said. That is why I say it as a threat. The theme returned. The +90-minute pilot light came on steady, more serious than before. We continue on this improbable morning, Violeta said. On the other end we have Luz Aguado, who was meant to be in the studio today and could not come. Luz, before anything else, this switchboard may be archived if we continue too long. I need you to tell us what you consent to tell, for how many seconds, and whether you authorize us to use your call to close the line technically. There was a pause. Not a fault, Relief. "Thank you for starting there," Luz said. "I consent to live broadcast, not promotional archive. You may say that my decision is whether I go to lunch with a production company that is offering visibility for a series I developed myself, but avoids putting my authorship in writing at the initial stage. No company names. You have 70 seconds. And to close the line, Rafa has to pull the red plug when I say table set. If he pulls it before, he cuts me off. If he pulls it after, continuity captures it." Rafa looked at the red plug as if it had just been promoted to main character. "Received," he said. "Luz," Violeta continued. 90 minutes from now. Only what you can tell us without harming that negotiation." The switchboard clicked. The amber pilot light blinked once, softly. "I asked for an email before leaving home," Luz said, now from the future. "Something simple. Please confirm that my participation as creator is included in the development document we will review." Lunch was delayed 20 minutes. The email arrived. Not perfect, but enough not to begin in a fog. And the tone of the meeting changed. Not because I made a scene, but because I put a chair at the table for my own work before sitting down. Violeta let the sentence breathe, but not too long. In the control booth, Nadia counted on her fingers. Tony, for once, was recording nothing. Rafa held the red plug. "Luz, that leaves a tool on the table," Violeta said. "And speaking of tables," Luz replied, with an audible smile, "table set." Rafa pulled the red plug. The switchboard made a tiny sound, like a bicycle bell under a blanket. The plus 90-minute pilot light blinked 3 times and returned to its calm heartbeat. On the glowing clock, 6 seconds remained before the station ID. The station bumper came in on time, clean, with no voices trapped underneath. The studio let out its breath all at once. Nadia leaned against the glass. Tony showed a note. "Legal is asking less than feared. Good coffee is still on." Rafa wrote on a strip of tape, "Red plug equals do not be a hero late." Messages came in like rain, finally making up its mind. An architect was going to ask for a deadline change in writing. Someone had saved a household by banning literature on the fridge. Another asked whether the landing could advise him about an exercise bike. Not all were compliments. One said, "You promised the future and delivered consent windows." Violeta read it aloud. "Consent windows are also the future, dear listener. They just do not make laser lights when they open. And it is best to close them before the station ID." There would be a meeting, legal questions, perhaps an afternoon of protocols with long names. But the hour had not collapsed. Better still, it had not used wonder as a lockpick, and it had not let the machine archive what no one had given it. "We have one song and one last question left," she said into the microphone. "Today we have had a switchboard that brings voices from 90 minutes later, but we have also learned that the future enters with delay, with windows, and with fairly temperamental plugs. So let's keep it small and decent. What decision will someone, 90 minutes from now, thank you for making now, without telling anything that is not yours?" The switchboard did not ring right away. Violeta did not fill the silence with jokes. Rafa kept his hand near the plugs. Nadia stayed by the glass, arms crossed, already thinking about the meeting afterward, and even so, not wanting to undo what had happened. Tony put his phone away. Then the plus 90-minute pilot light came on once more, with a calm glow. "Go ahead," Violeta said. "And if you need the cut, say, table set." An anonymous voice came in, neither young nor old, with no introduction. I just wanted to say that I waited until the third ring before sending a voice note. I had recorded 3 brilliant sentences. They also belonged to someone else. I left a question, 1 fact, and a time to talk. In 90 minutes, I still have the same life, of course. But at least, I have not fixed one doubt by creating another in someone else's life. Table set. Rafa cut. The line went clean. There was no drum roll, no grand revelation, no promise that life would be put in order by the art of an old machine. Only the compact studio, the dry storm, the glowing clock reaching the exact second, and a Bakelite switchboard that seemed, for once, perfectly installed in the century that suited it. Violeta looked at Rafa, who gave a thumbs up. She looked at Nadia, who made a small gesture. Go in. She looked at Tony, who shrugged as if to say, we will argue later, but not now. Then she moved her hand toward the fader. We will keep that, she said. 90 minutes is not a master key. With luck, it is an intercom. You call, you ask who it is, and you open only when it is time. I am Violeta Navas. This is still the morning, and the next song comes in on time, which is also a respectable kind of magic.